morning, everyone. Welcome to Tackle Tuesdays, a webcast series that explores and examines different topics and issues in organizational behavior. My name is Joanna Pagonis, and I am your host for this webcast series. I'm the owner of Synogap Solutions, a leadership consulting firm. We partner with organizations in developing employee engagement and leadership development strategies that contribute to a company's ability to grow and achieve its mission. Today's webcast is focused on, or title is, Wicked Problems, Magnificent Solutions. So a wicked problem is a social or cultural issue that is complex and multifaceted. Therefore, there is no single solution that can fix the problem due to the complex interdependencies that are contributing to the problem in the first place. And so common examples of that are poverty, racism. These are examples of wicked problems. So today, my guest and I will dig deep into the wicked problems organizations are tackling and strategies they can implement to address them before they become unmanageable. I encourage viewers to post their questions and comments throughout. I'll be sharing them with our guest today, and she will answer them or address them as they come up. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce my guest before we get into our questions today. So Ms. Kessie Stevens co-owns Artis, a WCB and safety consulting firm based in Edmonton and Calgary. She has worked in disability management since 2007 and has been doing COR, Certificate of Recognition audits, since 2014. Did I say that right? Is it a certificate of recognition? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, or CORE, yeah.
Or CORE, thank you. Among her certifications and training, she is a certified health and safety consultant, has her project management certificate from MacEwan University, and holds triple designations in administrative justice. Ms. Stevens graduated with honors from the University of Alberta's Occupational Health and Safety Certificate Program, and she's currently completing her Master's of Science degree in Occupational Safety and Health from Columbia Southern University. Kessie's experience working at the Workers' Compensation Board led her to found Artis and launched her safety career. She specializes in WCB appeals, disability, and safety program development for employers and course development with a specialization in diversity and inclusion. She's also a first aid instructor. So welcome, Kessie, to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I met Kessie at the inaugural Women in Safety Conference that was hosted by, I think it was Canadian Occupational Safety Magazine back in March. We sat at the same lunch table together.
Yeah.
We shared a meal. And you shared with me, we started to talk about kind of our career pathways and what led us to where we are today. And you really did share with me like a passion for what you do and wanting to help others. And so I thought before we go into a little bit around what Artis does and the consulting services that you provide to employers, I was hoping that you could share a little bit about your story. What led you to start Artis in the first place? And as Kessie is speaking, I will share Artis's website as well.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I decided to go into business for myself while I was working at the Workers' Compensation Board in Alberta. And while I was there, I just noticed that employers would really struggle with claims and understanding the process and just not knowing things that they didn't know. So the WCB doesn't necessarily explain, or a case manager won't necessarily explain the best route or the best practices, because their job is just to get a claim adjudicated or managed and help that worker return to work. And that can be a costly process. So I just noticed that employers they always had the same questions and the same confusions and frustrations. So it was pretty early on that I thought it would be great to be a consultant who helped employers navigate that complex WCB system. So I established Artis in 2013 and kind of did that work while working at other places or having a baby and going on maternity leave, and then went full-time with Artis almost a year ago. And a few years back, I brought on David Kopis, my business partner. And then just in the last year, we've really grown, and now we're a team of 6, and hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be a team of 7. so it's been really good. And then when I was also working at WCB, I started studying occupational health and safety because so much of the time I was talking to safety professionals, and there's a huge difference between the disability management and the intricacies of managing claims versus being a safety person where your job is upfront to prevent the injury from happening. So I wanted to understand their perspective a bit more. So I started studying safety and really loved it, and took to it, and got into core auditing, and we started to integrate safety consulting into the business and have some really good safety professionals on the team too.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, then that leads me really well into the next question. Like, what are some of the services that Artis provides to employers? And how has becoming more knowledgeable and certified in all things related to occupational health and safety really helped you provide a holistic service to employers?
Yeah, well, in safety, there's no shortage of certifications that you can get. It's such a complex field, so there's definitely a few more that I need to get. But I guess your question was the services we provide. So on the WCB end for employers, we provide just everything from reviewing your industry profile to see if you're classified in the right industry, to doing WCB appeals for you or disability management, looking back historically for cost relief to get money returned to the employer, doing program development, helping develop modified work programs. Those are the big things, anything WCB related that an employer has a concern with, or even general questions. Okay. And then on the safety end, it's a lot of core audits. So that's an audit to help a company get a certificate of recognition, and the benefit of that is they get a discount with their WCB premiums if they have core, and then it also allows them to work on projects and to show that their safety program is at a certain standard that's been set up by the government. So we do core audits and then help some companies get ready for core, help with some safety program development or policy reviews, gap analysis, things like that.
Okay. So what are some of the issues that when a company calls you and you go in and you have a meeting with them to figure out what you can do to help them? What are some of the issues? Because you've been doing this for a while now. And so what are some of the issues that you see employers dealing with from your experience? I assume it seems as though you've worked in many different industries. So what are some of those, are there common issues that you see that are coming up that you've experiencing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll share my visual on this in a minute, but just because a lot of the time, especially with WCB issues, employers will come to us after the fact and after they're in pretty deep with a problem that they don't know how to solve. So they will engage us, and despite the industry, I mean, we see this in the same trend across different industries, and sometimes in some industries issues are more pronounced, but overall it's going to be the same for every industry. They'll come and they'll say, we have a problem with this WCB case, or we're generally paying too much in WCB and we don't understand why, and we need help. And then based on that, we do a deep dive, and that's when sometimes we see like what we're calling today wicked problems or other problems. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Because a lot of the time I think in analogies, and sometimes they're pretty quirky. So I
love analogies. They really do help make sense of complex things, right?
Yeah, and visuals. So the one I'm just about to pull up, I was thinking about what we do, and safety and WCB at the end of the day are all a part of risk management for a company.
Yeah.
So I really more than ever now think in terms of risk management. And let me just do my share. And we take that approach when trying to help companies solve problems, and talking about trends. So I thought of this, and you guys can see the
yes,
water
balloon. I can see it. Yeah.
So I thought of, in safety, we have what's called leading indicators and lagging indicators when we want to measure a company's performance. I think also financial use the term leading and lagging indicators. So lagging indicators are how you measure your performance after the fact.
Okay.
So how many injuries did we have, or how much extra are we paying in WCB? How many time loss days did we have? So it's all historical. And then leading indicators are where you want to be, where you're saying, what are we doing right? Are our employees engaged in the programs that we're offering? Are we doing surveys and staying on top of preventing problems from happening? But then I thought, what about leaking indicators? And I thought of the analogy of a water balloon.
Mm.
And what we see when we come into a company is little symptoms that we, for safety, for example, or WCB that we specialize in and we can tackle, but it often spills into other areas. So I thought about risk management, and in risk management theory, to manage your risk, companies are asked to look at 4 quadrants, which is hazard risks, operational risks, so that's your people, your process, your systems, external factors, strategic risks, and financial risks. So just thinking about those quadrants and trends that we see, I came up with this idea of this water balloon, where the water balloon actually represents your corporate culture. And if somebody is having a problem on our end, they might be our WCB is at a 200% surcharge, and we think we have a culture problem. And even if they don't say that, when we come in and look at their trends and stuff, we can pretty much guess that they might have union issues, for example, or high employee turnover, or management not reporting, or management not following up. And I know as a safety professional, you hear the term safety culture a lot. But I think, or they'll say your company has a poor safety culture. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a poor culture, corporate culture, company culture, and your performance in your safety is an indication of that culture. But you're also going to see symptoms in your HR or symptoms in your other insurance claims not related to WCB, or maybe you're having theft. So it's indicative of a huge issue, a root issue, which is corporate culture. And if you do have problems with these things in one area that you might be feeling a pinch point on, you're probably having problems in other areas, and you should take a look at that.
Correct. I like that. I love the analogy. I've always used the iceberg in the past, right? You see the symptoms on top of the iceberg, but there's something that's underlying that's really causing those symptoms. And if you don't dig deep, you'll never really solve the problem. So I love the leaking indicators and the corporate culture, the water balloon that is the analogy, or represents what corporate culture looks like. Yeah, because from my experience, what I've seen is companies, and they unknowingly do this, because that what you've really indicated or articulated well is what a wicked problem is. All of these little complex interdependencies add up to create a bigger problem. And what I see a lot of companies do is literally take Band-Aids to cover the leaks in the balloon.
Yeah.
And that may work for a little bit, but it doesn't always hold, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You haven't really addressed the true root problem.
Yes. So what are some, you have employee turnover. For me, that's a common one that I see a lot. And to me is a red flag.
Yeah.
When a company has high turnover, I know that's an indication of something that's deeper that's happening. From your experience, what are some of the things that you've seen that may be contributing to some of these leaking indicators?
It is corporate culture, and a lot of it is, the cause could be anything that would lead to high turnover. It could be another company has taken over. It could be just poor management, or the company, we've talked about this one, the company not investing in management and not investing into their employees and their programs maybe the way they should, which is understandable because times are tough and companies have goals and bottom lines that they have to reach and be accountable to, and also they're busy doing what they got into business for. So a lot of the times, I know you've told me, and everyone really has, like a lot of times, and people have worked at these companies where they don't feel that the company wants to invest in addressing those what are technically softer issues. However, like at Artis, we're kind of at an advantage in terms of if a company's WCB is high, because we will be able to do projections for them going out like 3 to 5 years in the future. And we can say, if you invest in your program or if you use our services, we can save you this much money, which you're paying in insurance premiums. So there's a good solid buy-in to get them to see the financial benefits of using us. And I think if a company knows, for example, or if their leaking indicator is we have a high employee turnover, they might not want to invest in things that they need to effectively address that. They might even cover something like that up with, we need a new software program to help our onboarding so we don't have a high employee turnover, where that's not necessarily the root issue.
Yeah. Oh, you nailed it. I remember I was working with a company and they had high turnover. And so they were dealing with a lot of staffing issues. So high turnover was close to 30%. They had long-term disability and short-term general illness leaves as well. Mm-hmm. They had another thing that they were dealing with, tons of overtime. And a lot of the debt that the company was carrying had to do with those employee issues, especially overtime. And we went in to do a bit of a root cause analysis and an organizational culture review to really discover what was happening. And it was amazing because, Kessie, the men and women that we interviewed, because we decided to go beyond just a survey. We decided that we would meet with people, across the organization, from frontline individual contributors to supervisors, managers, and senior leadership. And what came out of it was a really clear picture of what was causing those issues. It wasn't just one thing. There were a couple of things. And some of it was poor relationships between supervisors and their direct staff, which led to poor management. And it wasn't necessarily that you had managers, because you talked about poor management. It's not that you had managers or supervisors that were apathetic and didn't care. They were actually telling us they wish they had the skills to know how to supervise people better. And the funny thing was, some of the supervisors weren't even working in the same working areas as their direct reports. So they would never see them, and they were responsible to give them feedback on their performance. So there were a lot of issues, but that we realized we could fix and we could address over time, right? And rally the people within the organization to do this. And when we started to interview them, and we actually brought them on board to help us collect the data, analyze it, and report the data back to leadership, you could also see a change in a shift in the culture a bit. People were more optimistic and hopeful that things were going to change because the organization was investing in this to determine what was really going on. So they were tired of putting Band-Aids on the balloon because the balloon was leaking. It was about to burst, so, yeah. I've talked to companies. I said, if things don't change in the next year, what will happen? And sometimes I've had companies say either a serious injury or a fatality. So like you said, there's some companies you're working with, right? They're like, no, we got to address this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Like, you can put a Band-Aid on, you can fix one of these things, but it's not going to stop the problem from happening. And unfortunately, we have not a lot, but sometimes we have clients who we will recognize these patterns with them, and we'll come in and say, you guys need to really invest in your program and make some significant changes at your company, and here's a clear cost benefit of why that will help you. And they still won't take that leap. So they're always calling us to put out fires, which is fine. Like call me and we'll help you, and we'll charge you for the service, but I know that you're going to be calling again in a month because the same problem has happened again and you haven't implemented those solutions. And we definitely see or hear about other areas in those companies that they're also struggling with. So
yeah, it's incredible because this to me is a fascinating phenomenon. Like, one of the reasons why I started Tackle Tuesdays is because I wanted to educate employers, organizational leaders, even anybody within an organization, or what the benefits are to addressing these root cause issues, or these, to prevent them from turning into a wicked problem. Because once it becomes a wicked problem, it's very hard to solve.
Yeah.
But like you said, I'm always trying to. So part of the Untitled Tuesdays is to educate people around what the benefits are. But like you said, sometimes you share, like I try to figure out what is important to them. Speak their language. Is it dollars? And if it's dollars, I'll try to articulate the benefit in terms of dollars. But you're right. I remember working with one company where I said, this is how much money you'll save over the course of a year. It won't be a quick fix. We're not going to implement a system that will just take care of your problems within a month. It'll take some time. It'll take several months, but you'll start to see progress and savings within the year. And still sometimes it doesn't resonate with them. They still want us to come in and do these quick fixes. But these fixes have actually ended up costing them millions more.
Yeah.
Than if they just let us, tackle those root cause issues, not the symptoms, but the root cause issues. So I'm still trying to I don't have an answer. I'm still trying to figure out what's the magic speak or language that I need to communicate in to get people to buy into this. Like I said, Untitled Tuesdays is one way I'm trying to do it. Have you, like you've shared, like sometimes it's challenging. Do you have a success story where you worked with a company and said, yes, Cassie, we get it. Please do this. What do you think led them to buy into that and sign up for what the services that you could provide?
Yeah, it's, for us, like I said before, it's so easy to present the numbers to them and show exactly how much more they're paying in WCB. So if it's a larger company, we've seen companies who have had to pay, or are trending to pay, millions of dollars extra in insurance. So when they see that, or even a smaller company, when they can't get a different ranking in their ISNet software and they can't win bids, that speaks pretty much to their pain points. Although, like I know we've both talked about companies who you can't get them to make that leap, or they don't want to make that change or step out of their comfort zones. And I almost wonder if part of it is around they don't know what they don't know. Like so many companies don't know that we exist, or WCB consultants exist and can help them solve these really increasingly complex problems. So I think that part of it is that they don't know that, so they won't even know how to engage it. It's here's another analogy. It's like the analogy about the frog in the boiling pot.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a second, Cassie. It looks like somebody lost sound. I want to know, has anyone else lost sound? Give me one quick second, because if no one can hear you, that's not good. I just put up a question to see if other people have lost sound, or if it's just Paula that's lost sound. I can hear. Okay, so please continue.
Okay, I'll close that. So yeah, they don't know what they don't know, so it's hard to make the leap. And then also at the same time, they're like a frog in the boiling pot analogy, where they're not aware of the problem until it's too big, and that transcends all areas of someone's life. Everybody can think of examples in their personal life or their professional life where all of a sudden they're aware of a problem that was a total blind spot to them. So that's another thing too. But employers should be aware of all of these little leaks. Like, are we having more union issues? Is OHS coming out and giving us orders and demands on an increasing basis? In safety, with the new violence and harassment legislation, you see that, because workers are so much more protected with legislation, those could be symptoms of a leaking balloon or a corporate culture issue. And you want to be aware and deal with that as soon as possible, so you don't have these years and years of high turnover or pain points or increased insurance, or putting out fires, really. So those should be little indicators for employers that there is a problem beneath the surface. And then as a leader, be humble and admit that. And if you have to outsource to fix those problems, please do it. I mean, a trucking company gets into trucking because that's their industry, that's what they know, and that's what they want to do. Like we were talking earlier, Artis is moving to a new office, and we're not going to move ourselves. We're going to hire a moving company to come and take care of that problem for us. And likewise, companies in industry need to be open to that, and using those services and tapping into the professional networks that are out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with that as well. And that's one of the things I try to say to my clients is that my job is to get you to a place where you never need another consultant again, in a sense. If I've done my job in helping you repair those leaking indicators and improve your corporate culture, then you shouldn't need somebody to come in to do a cultural review and fix, if you will, ever again. You may want us to come in to support continuous learning and development, which is something all companies need to invest in. But you don't necessarily need us to come in to do a big overhaul or a big review. And like you said it, Cassie, I think people are afraid of that because there's this, people don't want to feel like they've been screwing up. You know, people don't want to be like, oh God, I kind of missed the ball on that one. But if you don't, being a leader means taking accountability, means facing the truth, right? Being able to own what's happening, but also own the change and the movement towards improving your organization as well. And I think if leaders can do that, it'll inspire and motivate other people to be engaged and excited for the change that's to come. And one of the things that I also see that can be contributing to these issues, and it's so simple to me, but yet it's amazing how still I see this, the leadership at the top are not unified and cohesive. They're not really clear on what their purpose is, what they're supposed to be doing, who's supposed to be doing it, and how to really measure success. Like what's important now, what are priorities? So when a crisis hits like we've just been through, oh my God, like if they're struggling a little bit before and there's some leaking indicators before, when you hit a crisis and you're not all on the same page, you're not a cohesive, unified leadership team, the cracks, like, I mean, the bubble bursts. That's what I've seen as well. I don't know if you've experienced that as well. So even just working with a leadership team to say, let's get you all on the same page around what your mission, your purpose, your vision is, and what you're going to do to measure success and really what your priorities are for the next year, sometimes can bring drastic changes to a corporate culture.
Yeah, and also just thinking about that for leaders, and you see this time and time again, there's so much strength and vulnerability, because that allows you to bring those walls down and implement the changes that you need to implement for your company.
Absolutely. Well, can you believe it? We're down to 3 minutes near the end of the show. And before we go, I wanted to ask you, because I always ask all my guests, like, I thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk about this interesting topic. I feel like, you know, I've talked a little bit about culture before, and I think it's a topic that is so big. So to spend a couple of episodes on it and have someone with your experience come in and talk about, especially from your perspective from occupational health and safety and WCB claims, I think will resonate with a lot of our listeners and our viewers. So thank you for taking the time amidst the move, no less. So thank you. But before we end, I always ask my guests, so please share something that you're working on, or something that you would like to share with the viewers around what you're doing and what they may be interested in.
Okay, the first thing thank you, and I also, thanks for having me, I really enjoyed being on with you. The first thing that comes to mind is there is a class that we are developing with Norquest College, and the ACSA is a sponsor on it as well, and it's around bullying and harassment and diversity and inclusion. And we're getting ready to launch the class. So I would say stay tuned to our website and our social media, because we'll announce it when it's ready to go. And we're going to be doing some free live training workshops for this class. It's really interesting. We talk about different areas of diversity, and we met with a lot of leaders in different areas of the community. And there's a separate Indigenous module with the class as well. So like I said, I think we're doing 3 or 4 live sessions to register for. And then the class will be available online after that. Just like at a self-paced. It's about 4 hours long. Okay. And just the other thing that we're working on is always core audits and WCB appeals and program development for employers.
Perfect. Thank you. That's wonderful. That sounds like a really interesting course. So I put the website in the group chat, but for our viewers will be watching through my YouTube channel. It's Artis, ARTIS solutions.ca. That's your website, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they'll be able to get all that information. Excellent. You're also on LinkedIn? People can
Yes.
connect through to you through there, Kessie Stevens. Kessie with two S's and IE, and Stevens' usual common spelling. So perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kessie.
Yes.
I want to let everybody know that the recording will be available. I'll be posting it on LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel as well, and on my website at synogapsolutions.ca. Next week, I don't have a guest. I actually will be facilitating a discussion with viewers around resiliency and agility. I think as we're reopening our economies, I think there'll be some new stressors that people will be encountering, especially people who are being mandated to return to work and still have kids at home that need to be cared for. So I want to talk a little bit about resiliency and agility and create an open dialogue with anybody who will be watching the show live next week. So I hope that you'll be able to join next week.